Welcome to the HVS College Night. My name is Mike Getman. I'm the Director of Coaching for HVS, as well as the Boys College Liaison. We also have with us Kat Nichols. She will be helping me tonight with the technology. But for those families that might also have a daughter playing in our club, Kat Nichols is the College Liaison for Girls, and she will be conducting a similar seminar immediately after this one at 7 p.m. tonight. After 35 years of college coaching, the most common recruiting questions I get asked are, how do I make college coaches aware of me, or how do I market myself? When does the recruiting process begin? What is the difference between NCAA Division I or Division II, et cetera, et cetera? And how do I get a scholarship, and how many are available? So I want to start right away by answering these most common questions. So let's start with number one. How do you market yourself? Well, first and most important, become the best player you can be. What type of player you are is more important than how you market yourself. We will teach you some of the things to make coaches aware of you and how to get the word out, but become the best soccer player you can be, and that's what will make college coaches the most interested in you. Don't wait for college coaches to contact you. We want to start the process immediately by sending emails to colleges that you think you might be interested in attending. We want you to send your resume or recruiting profile along with a highlight video. If you have a video of a full match where you thought you played well, you can include that too. With full game videos, make sure you indicate your team's jersey color and your number. We want the coaches to be able to pick you out right away and not have to watch 10 minutes before they figure who you are. You can also call a coach after sending an email to follow up, but send the email first. Most college coaches prefer to communicate, at least initially, by either email or text. And so let's start the process that way. Now, when does the recruiting process really begin? This varies by school and by division. Division I coaches, Division I colleges start to look at boys during their sophomore year of high school. The summer after your sophomore year and through the summer after your junior year is the biggest recruiting window for most Division I colleges. More details on the timeline will be discussed on our very next slide. What's the difference between NCAA Division I or II, et cetera? Well, Division I schools have a bigger athletic department and usually offer more scholarships. Division II schools may offer athletic scholarships, but they're more limited in the number. Division III schools do not offer athletic scholarships. And NAIA schools follow different rules, may offer more scholarships than even Division I. They tend to be smaller schools, but that's not always the case. The division does not tell you about the quality of the team or the soccer program. It simply tells you the size of the athletic department. As an example, the University of Alabama is obviously one of the largest athletic departments in the country, but they don't have a men's soccer program. So just because a school is Division I doesn't mean they have a team, or a good team at that. Fourth question is, how do I get a scholarship and how many are available? Division I men's soccer teams are allowed up to 9.9 soccer scholarships. Those are scholarships that are based on athletic performance. Division II men's soccer teams are allowed up to 9 scholarships. NAIA men's soccer teams are allowed up to 14 scholarships. Most colleges provide much more money for academic or need-based scholarship. As an example, UAB offers approximately $350,000 in soccer scholarships, but it offers over $15 million in academic money. Most colleges will also bundle academic, need-based, and athletic scholarships together. Here's a timeline for college coaches when they begin the recruiting of future players. As you can see, the summer leading into your junior year is when the rules start to allow real contact between coaches and potential recruits. Before that, they can reply politely and they can send you information about their camps, but they're not allowed to have a true recruiting conversation until June 15th, leading into your junior year. Each division is slightly different on when they allow college coaches to begin the recruiting process. Here's the basic timeline for you as a future college player. If you are in the 9th grade, you can start learning about the process and thinking about what you want in a college. In 10th grade, it's time to put together your basic soccer profile or resume and a short highlight video. As a junior in high school, it's time to be active in the recruiting process. Coaches can reply to emails and phone calls, and you must be reaching out to any and all schools you might have an interest in. If you're a national team player, the coaches will be calling you and pursuing you. But for everyone else, you need to be proactive and make sure the college coaches know who you are. As a senior in high school, it's time to be narrowing your list and hopefully making your final decision. The first day that an athlete can sign with a college is November 10th. November is not the date you must sign, it's the earliest you can. About 10% of Division I athletes sign on this date, and the rest make their decisions and sign sometime between November and March. After March or maybe early April, it's getting pretty late and there are far fewer roster spots still available. This slide is just a little bit of a reminder that your grades and test scores are an important part of the recruiting process. At a minimum, you must meet the basic NCAA requirements just to be eligible for a scholarship or to even practice or play with the team. Different colleges have different admissions requirements. The better your grades, the more doors will be open to you. But this slide gives you just a little bit of the basic understanding of what the NCAA expects for college athletes. One of the best ways to learn if a college is a good fit for you is to visit. An official visit is one where the soccer program pays for all or part of your costs. There are lots of rules about official visits, but you can visit almost anytime on your own. Tour the school, meet the coaches, get to know a little bit about the college. If you pay the costs, it's an unofficial visit and there's no rules or limits on the number of unofficial visits you can take. But as you see on the slide, you can only have 5 different Division I schools pay for all or part of a visit. Scholarships, every parent's biggest concern. The keys to know is there are only 10 scholarships in Division I per team. That means on average, only about 2.5 scholarships come available. Typically, teams will recruit 8 to 10 players, so not everyone's getting a full ride. If you have good academics, you open the door to much more scholarship money. Typically, academic scholarships start at about a 3.0 GPA. Many years ago, I had a recruit tell me he had a 3.0 when he really had a 2.98. That very slight difference cost him $60,000 in academic scholarship over his 4 years. How hard would you be willing to work in school for $60,000? Do the studying now, they'll give you the money. Most kids say, show me the money and I'll start working hard. But it doesn't work in that order. You do the work and then the academic money becomes available to you. We talked a little bit about producing a highlight video. Here are a few tips for making yours. The highlight video is supposed to get a coach's interest. We don't want to bore him with 50 clips of you making a 10-yard pass. A few different clips that show your different qualities are what we're really looking for. If you have great pace, show that. If you're a goal scorer, show that. If you're a fantastic defender, show that. Whatever it is that makes you unique, show those qualities in your highlight video. With our club now having trace video for all of our high school age teams, putting together your highlight tape should be a pretty easy process. I'm going to show you a few clips from one of our players. This was made last year, but it just gives you a little bit of an example of what your video might look like. On as a defender, see we showed the first clip of him defending. We showed a little bit of his skill and composure when he has the ball. Showed a couple of clips of him being on the left side, so the coach knew he can play on the right or the left. In the end, we made sure we showed a couple of clips of him defending, because that's what coaches were going to be looking for. I'm going to pause it right there. You don't need to see the whole video, but you can see that his video was only 2 minutes. Anything 2, 3, 4 minutes is fine, but we don't want to go longer than that. If it starts to get to be 6, 7 minutes, you're really at the upper limits of how long you want that video to be. You want to post your video online, and then you can share the link to a college coach anytime. Whenever possible, we want to use game video. What you did in practice is sometimes okay, but coaches really want to see how you did in games, and so we try to make that the bulk of your video. Social media, you may not think of it as recruiting, but every coach is going to Google you before they spend any money on you. It takes them 30 seconds to type your name in and see what kind of person you think you are, because what you post on social media is telling the college coaches what's important to you. If you are positive and supportive of other people, they see that. If you have lots of posts at parties, or maybe just lots of mean comments, they probably don't want to have you on their team. So, a little bit of homework for everyone. If you're a sophomore or older, you want to make a cover letter. That's a basic letter. That's your email that you're going to send out. And it's going to say something like, "Dear Coach, my name is Mike Getman. I'm the greatest soccer player you've ever seen. I run a 2.0 40-yard dash. I have a 5.0 GPA out of 4. I scored a 46 on the ACT, and I'm a wonderful teammate." Then you're going to attach your resume. So you need to begin making your resume or profile, whatever you want to call it. Your profile includes details about you. It tells the name of your club, the name of past teams that you've played on. It gives the name of coaches who know you well and either their email or their phone number so that the college coaches can get in touch with them. If you are a junior, make sure you've posted your highlight video and that you've got that attached to any emails that you send out. Sophomores, hopefully you have one or put one together soon and add it to your emails. If you're a junior or older, I want you to set up a meeting with me so I can learn what your interests are and I can help you through this process. Do your schoolwork. It matters. It opens up the doors. College coaches don't want to have to chase around their athletes to see if they're going to class. How you've done in high school shows college coaches the type of person you are, and it indicates that you've already gotten the work done academically. They're not going to have to be worrying about you every day. Are you going to stay eligible? Are you going to go to class, etc.?
Coach Getman, can I add one small thing?
Please.
On the highlight video with the music, just make sure that you're doing something that a professional would want to be listening to. You're not sending this to your 16-year-old best friend or 17-year-old best friend, and the music's maybe a little more raunchy than it needs to be. Just be intelligent with what you're putting out there.
That's a great point. And for those of you that don't know, Coach Justice was my assistant at UAB for many, many, many years. And he and I would often find ourselves, let's say, amused by some of the language on the videos that would come to us. You don't know how any one coach might feel about certain language or style. And so I agree completely. Make sure the music is of a professional nature where college coaches won't be offended by what you're sending them. Some of you may be worrying about recruiting services. Most Division I schools aren't really reading information that's coming to them from a recruiting service. Many Division II, Division III, and NAIA schools do. The biggest value in a recruiting service is that they will help you prepare your profile and your highlight video, and they will get it out to college coaches. And so if you're a procrastinator and aren't getting it done, they will get it done for you. But BYGA allows you to very quickly produce a good, high quality profile. With Trace Video, we're able to put together highlight videos in just a matter of minutes. And so while there's never a harm in using a recruiting service, some of them are very expensive. And the biggest value is that they simply get the job done if you're not going to. And I get asked this question by parents all the time. Different services might cost $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Is it worth it for that much money? And the answer is really simple. It is worth it if you aren't going to fill out your profile on BYGA, if you're not going to collect your highlights from Trace, and you're not going to put it together and then get it out to the college coaches. That's what they do. And it certainly can make your life easier if you have the resources to afford it. But it's not something that's a requirement. And through BYGA and through Trace Video, we can get most of this process done very quickly and simply and less expensively. Okay, so let's get to some of the questions and hopefully answers that you all might have. So I'm going to ask you, if you have a question, to post it into the chat section. Give me just a moment as I sort out some of the technology here. Here we go. So use the chat to all section, and I'm going to ask Coach Justice, if you would, to help me read through those questions as they start popping up, and we will try and answer for everybody these questions as they come through. Both players and parents, please ask away. This is an opportunity to ask literally any question that you'd like. Between myself and Coach Justice, we've got over 50 years of college experience, and Kat Nichols, who is our girls college liaison, is also with us. And so between the three of us, I think we can probably answer nearly any question that you might ask. So type away. We'll give everybody a minute or so here, and we'll try and answer those questions for you. And while questions are being typed in, I'll tell you a couple of things. We will send out a recording of this event. It'll be posted on our website, and it will go out in the director's cut email that we send out weekly. So you'll get that recording in case you want to go back and review something. We also will be sending out a college recruiting guide. So you'll have most of this information in writing, just in case you want to be able to look back, flip through, or see maybe some of the questions that are answered in that guide that you hadn't thought about. So I'm going to start with the first question that I'm seeing here. I mentioned trace video. Do all of our teams have access to trace video? And so the answer is no, not everybody does. We have access to trace for most of our teams, and we have VO video for the others. So we do have video, and that's a good distinction. I kept mentioning trace, but between trace and VO, we have video for every player in the club, and whichever format it might be for your particular team, the video is available. Next question that I'm seeing: how do we know where to begin with colleges to target? There's so many, it seems overwhelming. Yes, it can feel that way. And so I'll start with a simple thought. It does depend on what year you are in school. If you are a senior, there's a lot of colleges to sort through in a short amount of time. If you're a junior, well, you've got a year and a half to be sorting them out. If you're a sophomore, you've got 2.5 years. And obviously, as a freshman in high school, you got lots and lots of time. So the earlier you start on this process, and the earlier you start thinking about what is it that you want in your college experience, then it'll be easier to sift through these things. For instance, do you want to be close to home or far away from home? Do you want a big school or a small school? Do you want an urban campus or a small college town? Some of those simple questions will allow you to eliminate perhaps 50%, 75% of the different colleges that are out there. But there's nothing wrong with sending an email to 100 or more colleges if you want to. Now, don't send one email to 100 email addresses of college coaches at the same time. Send each email individually. You can use a basic form letter, but send it to one coach at a time. You want them to take time and answer your questions and get in touch with you. Show them that you at least took 30 seconds to send them an individual email. But start the process of thinking about what's important to you. That will help you to research those types of schools. You can literally type into Google Southern colleges in urban areas with men's soccer programs, and it'll give you a list of those potential schools. So it's not so hard to do some narrowing of the topic just through the Google process. But as I also said a little while ago, I'm happy to help you figure out what your interests are. Certainly sophomores and freshmen in high school, you probably don't know much about what a college really is. Maybe as a junior in high school and senior, you know a little bit more. You can also narrow it down by what your academic interests are. As an example, if you want to be an engineer, well, you can Google engineering schools that have men's soccer programs, and you'll get a list of what's out there. So there are many different ways you can narrow your list, but there's nothing wrong with starting with a pretty wide net and then narrowing it down over time as you really figure out what you want. The next question that I see, is there a tutorial on how to clip highlights from Trace or VO? Great question. So the simple answer to that is yes. Probably the easiest way is to go to YouTube, and there's a tutorial on anything you could ever want to know in YouTube. So you could go there and find it. I'm sure it's also on the Trace site. To be honest, I haven't made a highlight video in Trace yet. VO I've done. It's a pretty simple process of watching it, clicking highlight, and then it adds them all together for you. And again, for anybody that needs a little help with that, I'm happy to help you through that process as you start to put yours together. How often should I post a new highlight video? Great question. It depends on what year you are. So if you're a senior or a junior, every couple weeks would be fine if you want to. If you get kind of good at putting it together through Trace or VO, why not every couple weeks put up your most recent highlights? College coaches will appreciate that. If you're a sophomore or freshman, once every couple months is more than enough. They just want to be able to watch and get a sense of who you are as a player. And so you don't need to do it quite as often. But it's always a better idea to give more information as opposed to not enough. So if you like clipping your highlights out and putting them together, there's no harm in doing it every few weeks and then emailing out to a coach, hey, just thought you might like to see how I did in the last 3 games. Here's some highlight clips. Next question that I see, how important are the ID camps for the colleges that are of interest? So there's a number of ways to make yourself seen by college coaches. One of them is to be playing on a club like HVS and be playing in a good league and in showcase events like we will be doing. But going direct to the college, if you know you're interested in XYZ school, going there to their camp, showing your interest, and playing in front of those specific coaches is always a good idea. Obviously, there's a limit to everybody's resources. Camps cost money. Getting to the camps cost money. And every college ID camp is different. Some might only have the coaches from that one school. Others might have 10 or 12 or 15 colleges working at the camp. So if you know that this one school is your dream school, there's no harm in going there. It's a really good thing to do. But it's hard to get to 8, 9, 10 of those, whereas you might be able to find one college ID camp that has 10 or 12 college coaches, and now you're getting seen by a bunch. But ID camps are a great way to not just be seen, but to get to work with the coaches. You get to know them, they get to know you, and you certainly get to know each other better than just if a coach is sitting in the stands watching one game.
Also, with that, a lot of people don't understand the rules. ID camps are really good with Division I teams because you're not allowed to go and join their teams for a practice while you're on a visit. But in Division II and Division III, you can go to that school, visit that school on a Tuesday, join their team for a practice. You get to see how they play, what the players are like, how you fit in. That's a great advantage that Division II and other divisions have that Division I is not allowed to do.
Yes, great point. Thank you, Justice. As a Division I coach, we always wished we could just bring in players and have them train with our team and get to know whether they really fit with us. And we just can't do it. And that's why we started doing ID camps, and then it spread all over the country. Great point. Someone is asking, what's the minimum ACT score? There is no minimum. Each school has a minimum, perhaps, but there are roughly 1,000 college soccer programs in this country. Many don't even require an ACT or SAT score, especially in these last couple of years during COVID. So the NCAA has a sliding scale. The better your grades are, the lower your ACT score can be, or vice versa. If your grades aren't great, but you have a great test score, then you'll meet the eligibility requirements. But there are colleges that are looking for players with no ACT score or with a poor ACT score. Junior colleges in particular, their whole system is to be a second opportunity for students who didn't get the job done academically in high school. It's a second chance to get your college education, regardless of how well or not well you did in high school. So there are opportunities regardless of what your score is. Nobody should be thinking that, well, my grades aren't good enough or my test score isn't good enough, I can't play college soccer. That is not true. Every player in HVS, if you want to play college soccer, there's a program for you. I promise it's true. I see a question. Is it too late if I'm a senior in high school? Absolutely not. Nobody can sign before November 10th. So nobody has made an official commitment, no matter what you might hear from this person or that person. It is still wide open. And there are colleges that are going to be recruiting players all the way through next August. I had a number of coaches call me in August asking if we had a this or that hadn't decided, where they wanted to go to college yet. Now, most of our HVS players had decided long before that, but it's just a fact. It is never too late. The earlier you start the process, the more options will be available to you. But it is not too late now, and it won't be too late even in the next few months. So someone's asking, should we have a camera system at every game? Currently, we don't with our particular team. And the answer is no, you don't have to have video from every single game. You want to have enough video that you can put together a 2, 3, 4 minute highlight video. But that video, those clips can be from this year, they can be from last year. Certainly there's time, and all of our teams, all of our high school age teams will have more than enough video over the next few weeks that you'll be able to find the clips you need to put together a good highlight video. I see a question about how has the pandemic affected scholarships and eligibility. And so one of the really, odd parts of this pandemic is that the NCAA granted every college player an extra year of eligibility due to the pandemic. So the normal rule is you get 5 years of college to play 4 seasons. Well, now all of a sudden it became you get 6 years to play 5 potentially. So that meant that a lot of players that would have graduated a year ago and left just stuck around for another season. That meant that there were far fewer roster spots open and far less scholarship money available last year for seniors. Now, another group of players, the juniors from a year ago, now they're seniors, but they still have another year of eligibility left as well. And so it is going to limit the number of scholarships and roster spots that are available. But there is still a place for everybody that wants to play. Your dream school, whatever that might be, may have one or two fewer spots available. There's no way to know. It will be different for every single college, but there will be spots out there. Colleges are looking. A year ago, the college coaches weren't even allowed to be out actively recruiting off campus. Now they can. And so it will be a much better environment for this year's seniors than it was for last year's. So I see a question asking about what if someone is either a ninth grader or even younger, how long will the videos be available for them? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm pretty sure that all the videos will stay online either through Trace or VO at least for 3 years. Over time, technology tends to change. So this year, what seems to be the big trend is Trace and VO. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, who knows what it is? It'll be personal cameras that every soccer player wears on their shoes. But either way, our videos will remain active for at least 3 years. You can, of course, download anything that you want. If you're a freshman, then college coaches will look at your video from your freshman year. If you're a sophomore, they'll look at it from your freshman and sophomore year. If you're a senior, you want your video to be of your junior and senior year. You don't want a college coach to be watching video that's 2 or 3 or 4 years old, where you don't look the same. You've physically matured and changed. The level of competition is different. And so you want it to be within a 12-month period that you're using the video. It just gives the coach a much clear look of who you are today, not who you were 3 years ago. Coach Justice and Coach Cat, if you'll scan through the questions and see if I've missed anything, please.
Just the new question that just popped up at the bottom.
Why don't you read it for me?
Can you clarify what the players are supposed to update on BYGA and who will see the profile?
So there's 2 profiles in BYGA. There's your information that the club uses to register you with our leagues. But then there is a recruiting profile. And once you fill that recruiting profile out, and then you hit the button, I believe it says make live. Once you make it live, then anybody who gets that link can see your profile. So that profile will be, or that team's list will be sent to college coaches. As an example, our seniors, I've already sent out all of their profiles to over 500 college coaches. Juniors, some of them were in that list. Some have not yet updated their profile and hit make live. Once you do, we will be getting it out to college coaches, and you can send it out to college coaches. But until you hit make live, then nobody can see it. Don't put information in there that you don't want other people to see, because anybody with the link will be able to see it. But the more information you put in there, the more we can make the college coaches aware of who you are. And it's never too early to start filling out that profile. Many times as a college coach, I'd be at a tournament. I'd watch younger players playing, 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, just in between games. I might be going from one U19 game, walking over to another field to watch a different game, and something catches my eye, and I sit and I watch for 15 minutes, and I see a couple kids that I think are pretty special, and I write down their name and number and their team, and then we start tracking them for the next 2, 3, 4 years, even though we know we can't talk to them yet. So having your information in BYGA, it's never too early. And it means that if a college coach calls me and asks about you, I can pull up that information. I can know a little bit more about you. Maybe it's got your academics or whatever it might be, and we can make sure they get that information quickly. So fill out that profile. The more information you put in there, the better. But do know that anything you put in there is going to end up visible to many different people. And I see another one that popped up. Is personal video recorded on a personal device frowned upon? Absolutely not. Any video that you have, different angles, whatever it might be, is always helpful. But if it's steady, clear video, college coaches will watch it. If it's handheld and it's jumping up and down, and if your mom or dad took video of you while you're scoring the goal and they're screaming and yelling, and the video is really unstable, then the college coaches are not going to watch that video very long. So they watch an awful lot of video. If something's giving them a headache, they're going to turn it off. So pick the best video clips you can that are easy for college coaches to watch. Okay. I think we've gotten through all the questions that are there. As I mentioned, the recording of this video will be posted and sent to you in the next day or two. We will also be emailing everybody a college recruiting guide that you can flip through, and it'll at the very least give you some good reminders of what you need to be doing at what times. And finally, as the college liaison for boys, I'm always available to you, whether it's through emails or phone calls or seeing you out on the field. And so don't be shy. Ask me any questions that you might have. I look forward to working with everybody and helping you get to the college of your dreams. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to Kat Nichols and to Justice Griffin for helping me through the process tonight. And we'll see you all on the fields really soon. Good night.